Hi, Joe Tramontano here again, and I'm going to elaborate a little bit about a couple of things from a book that I spoke about in my last video called Steve Gadd Up Close. I got this book many years ago. It even has a CD, and I'm sure it's still in print. You can actually still get it, but it actually helped me unlock a lot of mysteries behind some of the most amazing drum beats I've ever heard. And if you ever listen to Al Di Meola, the stuff he did with him, Steely Dan, Asia, the stuff he did on that, Late in the Evening, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, Paul Simon, it has a very distinct trademark with him because it's all based on syncopation. And one of the things that he talked about that I spoke about a little bit in my last video was Way Independance, but I never really got to demonstrate it. So I'm going to do that now, and I'm going to alternate it between the bass drum and the cymbal, the snare drum with the hi-hat and 2 and 4. And the pattern is going to go between the snare drum is going to change and the bass drum is probably going to change. But it's a good way to go back and forth and to actually get more grounded before you actually try stuff that you learn rudimentary to apply on a whole drum kit. And two other things that I was really kind of inspired by in terms of Steve Gadd was, for one thing, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, Paul Simon. That song really left a strong impression on me because when I first heard it and I tried it, I would just basically do kind of a roll along a bar line on the snare drum and just with the bass drum, and then that would be it. But at the time, I learned that he's doing a lot more. He's actually using the whole kit. And when I first heard it, I think my jaw dropped to the floor because it just didn't sound that way. It really didn't. Which is a prime example of how everything just fits in to something that sounds like one thing with him. And it's basically the hi-hat, the bass drum, the snare drum, the tom, and the floor tom. And I was really kind of surprised. And as simple as it is, there's a whole lot that you got to do within a single bar line. And it almost sounds like a crazy march. I'm actually going to show you exactly how it sounds. And I'm going to basically do it intermittently, and I'll break it up by sometimes doing it with or without the bass drum. Another thing that really just opened up a whole world to me from this book that I've heard him do was this funky kind of groove between the bell of the rock ride cymbal, the hi-hat, and the snare, and it was kind of a funk beat, but it's a crazy funk beat. It's all upbeats. is basically 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. But then you also have the upbeat on a 16th note rest on the bell of the cymbal, intermittently playing the snare and the cymbal at the same time, and just keeping the bass drum steady, chugging along, just keeping it going. And it's got this crazy sound. It's like really very busy, but it's actually pretty easy to figure out. You're just basically like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and just take a 16th note and make Swiss cheese out of it, and that's basically it. Here, see it? And hopefully it kind of clears up basically what I did on my knee. Okay, finally, something really, really crazy that I heard from Van Halen. In particular, the song Girl Gone Bad from 1984, which is I think it's like the last song in the album. And it's very jazzy. As heavy as that song is, and it's like a hell of a... I think it's... No, House of Pain is actually the last song in the album, but Girl Gone Bad is like one of the songs on the second side, I think. And it's a very jazzy feel mixed with like a heavy rock kind of like sound. And only they could do that. And there's one part of Girl Gone Bad where they go through the instrumental bridge, and then, Eddie does like this really crazy solo, and Alex goes into like this beat where he's hitting the bell of the cymbal, hitting the double bass, and hitting the snare. But he's not just doing 16th notes. He's doing 16th, 8th notes on the double bass, 2 and 4 on the snare, and kind of a paradiddle kind of rest. Like you think of a paradiddle with just the right hand, and the left hand ain't there, And that's basically what it is. It's really crazy. I tried it out, experimented with it, listened to it, studied it, and in doing it, I don't know if it really is the same as what he's doing, but I think if you really look, I'm just going to do that section of it, and what I'll do is I'll go in back and forth between 16th, 8th notes with the double bass to 16th notes straight, just to show you the difference. And it's another thing that's really good to kind of help you to differentiate and become more flexible up here so that everything else follows. Watch. ultimately, it's really about mixing and matching, learning. That's what I've really found. Starting out, playing the records and then learning how to sight read, line drumming. Even if I taught drums, I probably learned just as much from the students as they learned from me. It was really only about some kind of sound that I had that they liked. And they would just learn it from me for a time. And, that would be it. But it's really just about not being afraid to try different things. And I found that, the drums, it's a whole world within itself. And you can never stop learning to this very, very day. And in putting these videos out and dusting off the books and looking at them, it enabled me to become grounded again. And to see other drummers who put videos out there just gave me and inspired me to do the same thing. Otherwise, I really hope you enjoyed this video. All the best.